What is a spiritual awakening? If you Google search it, it means the process of waking up from a sleep or suddenly becoming aware of something. So the next question is, what is that something? So the very first thing that came to mind for me when you mentioned like awakening or spiritual awakening is maybe something that has to deal with religion, maybe Buddha going on his path to enlightenment, or someone experiencing a serious illness or a traumatic life event, maybe a near death, that forces them to retake a look at life and their purpose. And somehow through that, they found God. But if you were to ask me last year, that would not apply to me, right? I did not care, honestly. Today's episode, I want to share with you what I went through my own spiritual awakening and the signs you need to look for as you are experiencing your own awakening on when to know when it is your time to fulfill your purpose and to answer your call. And I also want to make you aware of how crystals, especially this powerful stone called Moldavite, comes into play with everything that's happening around you in your awakening, and how this is your first piece of armor as you start embarking on your own hero's journey. Let's get started in today's episode. I hope it helps on those who are walking their path and are being called. Let's cut to the chase. Timmy Doe, let's go.
Audio Jungle.
First off, I laugh at this meme every single time, right? Just a heads up for those who are experiencing an awakening, it is no touch by an angel experience. This is when you start entering the supernatural realm, right? You start getting all these downloads, you start tapping into your psychic abilities and all these synchronicities. You're like, what is happening? Am I losing my mind? And so I hope those who are watching this, who are experiencing or going through their awakening, I hope that you find comfort that you're being called to fulfill your purpose. Because right now, this time and with everything that's happening on earth, there needs to be a mass awakening. And this is where you gotta get ready, be a clear channel to receive all the messages and fulfill your purpose. This episode, I wanna share my own personal experience of an awakening. I can give you a bunch of facts, but that is not going to help because I think it relates better if you tie it into a story. And I talk with conviction because I experienced it myself. And hopefully it'll make sense for those who are watching this video, because when you are going through your own awakening, it is terrifying, right? You're not really sure what to expect. Basically, you have to deprogram yourself. Everything that you learn up to this point, maybe or maybe not the truth. So that's something you'll find out for yourself as you start revealing or like unveiling this veil. So for me, it first started, right? I had so many opportunities to wake up. I remember the very first time when I was in college, 2010, I had 2 opportunities to go study abroad. By the time I was 20, I was able to go to 18 countries and study abroad in all these different countries and like really experience a culture. And I knew at that point I wanted to be a travel agent or a flight attendant or something that has to deal with traveling, and that was like my dream. But now here are these outside influences, right? Growing up in an Asian family, it's like you gotta do good in school, right? If you're not Asian, doctor or lawyer, you know, you're not good enough, and all these lineage, traditional like energy from past lives, lineages that is that affects us so much that I thought my only way to make my parents proud was to become a financial advisor. I tried to become a dentist, study for a dentist. I totally failed OChem, right? And that was so discouraging to me. And I thought, well, what else can I do, right? I'm not passionate about teeth, for God's sake, really. And like maybe I can become a financial advisor and then get all these licenses to add after my name, and so that I could feel like complete. It was that point where I thought, well, I'm not gonna make any money become a flight attendant. I gave up on that dream the further I went into my studies. And through my 7 years of being an advisor, there are times where I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm miserable. Like, I don't feel the pull, the energy to fulfill this career. And I would have opportunities show up where someone was selling an agency, a travel agency. And then I was like, oh my God, I think this is the time. Like 3 years into my career, I was like, oh, should I make the jump? But then if I do, I'm gonna lose all my licenses, right? It took me so long to get my investment license. And I was like, oh, well, maybe not this time. And every time an opportunity comes up, the universe is giving you signs to follow your dreams. And every time, every little step I take, I was like, I'm so scared to lose what I've built up so hard for that it's maybe not this lifetime. So here is where the awakening will come in. When it is your time to be called, and why I talk about Moldavite so much, right, is this itty bitty stone that will accelerate your journey. Because during that time last year, I was getting like vivid dreams of something about crystals, goddesses, working with women, creating some kind of retreat, and it did not stop surfacing. And so it was a point in my career where I thought, man, I had it, right? After Hurricane Harvey hit Texas, I could see so much corruption that was happening in the background with all the insurance claim. And actually, it had to happen to my own family with my parents, who were so close to being scammed, where I had to step in and say, hey, what the heck are you doing? And this is the moment where I had to cut the cord. It was like, I can't be in this career, because it wasn't just one person involved in this whole insurance scam, right? It was like a group of them. And if I hadn't stepped in to like, hey, what do you think you're doing with all these claims? To a point where I just felt like I don't have a say on this integrity, on how people are taking advantage. I don't know, the insurance industry is so out there. Same with the financial and the banking. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Those who experience it will understand what I'm talking about. But I remember it was after Hurricane Harvey where I was like, that's it. I can't be in this industry where I don't feel I wanna contribute. And I know those who are in insurance and financial right now, you have your own purpose, you have your own cause. But for me, my sole contract for this lifetime is not in that industry. And perhaps you can bring integrity to that industry, but for me, that is not my path. And so fast forward, I thought that, hey, maybe it'll be good to work with crystals. And this is when Moldavite came in. And if you haven't seen my previous episode, my very first one, November 2018 on Moldavite, this is the moment where I thought, I'm just gonna make a YouTube channel and people are gonna listen to all that I have to share. Like, I'm gonna start monetizing on YouTube, and I'm gonna sell these magical crystal. I don't know like all of that it entails and all the transformation that it brings, but I know something is happening, right? I feel different. As much as all this that is coming up in my life, all these like chaotic life events that I had no idea what was going on, but they're surfacing so fast, and I thought it was like, it wasn't me. But here's the thing. When it is time for you to be called to answer your purpose, things beyond your control will start leaving your life. So what does that mean? It can mean your car. I have quite a few people reaching out that they've gotten in a car accident right after getting a Moldavite, or something happened with the car where the car had to go. And that's the first energy release. And then they start noticing huge fights within their current relationship. So if you're not aligned with someone that's meant to be for you, circumstances beyond your control, like forces beyond your control, will help force them out of your life. And so next comes relationship, and then friendship. You know those negative friends that you always have around? They're sucking the energy out of you. And same with family, right? As much as I love my family, now looking back at it, I can see like this mentality of scarcity, looking good, and just like this really low vibrating energy. And I know it's a conscious shift that I need to bring to my parents, but this is not just them. Goes back lineage. This goes back to our entire country. And there's a lot of healing that will need to happen there. And that's something that you will have to help your parents, your family evolve with you as you go through this process. And so the next thing that will most likely happen, and so for me it did, I was pulled away from and uprooted from my current situation. So that meant leaving my car, leaving to Vietnam for an entire 7 months, so that all this energy around me doesn't influence my thoughts and my feelings. So while I was in Vietnam, I spent a lot of time traveling up and down the country, getting to experiencing my roots, get to experiencing my family in Vietnam that I never got to know. And through that, I spent a lot of time in nature. And that was when I really got connected with myself, right? Have you ever imagined like going on a vacation somewhere different where you're detached from everyone in your life and you just have that time to yourself where nobody knew you, and you really get to hear your thought and what you're meant to do in life. So that's why people take sabbaticals. Honestly, I feel like that's the time when people is like, hey, it's time for you to get called. And so after that, after my Vietnam journey, I was like, okay, as I start experiencing all these synchronicities, as I start seeing all these alignment in numbers and synchronicities in the events that start to unfold, and seeing the deer everywhere, I started digging more into Moldavite and bringing the stones to a bunch of monasteries and monks, and then asking them, like, can you give me some guidance on this stone? And the more I figure out, the more I research, the more I dive into Moldavite, the more I become aware of something. So this something for me was an awakening in who I am as a person and what I am here to fulfill in this lifetime. So for me, it is the light goddesses, to work with crystals, to heal people, and work with women empowerment, to bring back the feminine, the sacred feminine energy, and to balance out all that masculine, like ego self energy that's happening here in the West. So I remember starting my journey in Vietnam, and I could see this entire country. We really respected Mother Mary, Lady Buddha, and it was just a sacred feminine energy that was surrounding this entire country. And that was the moment I kind of looked back and I was like, whoa. Here's one thing to look out, right? Why are all the men, most of the men in Asia, have a more feminine structure? And then the men in the West, right, they're much more masculine, deeper voice, like what is called chiseled jawlines, right? But I noticed the polarity in both sides of the world. The East meets the West. Yin and yang. And that was what I came to Vietnam for, is to balance myself out, absorb all the feminine energy. And now is the time for actually the West that needs to balance out their energies. Because have you ever thought one person in leadership, all this ego, all this power, can push one button and there'll be a nuclear war that could wipe out an entire country? And so right now, the energy that's coming in, especially during the time of this full moon on 12/12, the last full moon of the decade, there needs to be a mass awakening. This is a new wave of energy coming through. Lately, I've been sensing this huge push to get the Moldavites out before Christmas time. And don't ask me why, these are just downloads I'm getting as I'm working with these stones. Because what Moldavite is just an acceleration in your path. So right now, there's going to be an urgency for people to wake up at lightning speed. You can go the traditional way, going vegetarian, yoga, meditation. You will get to the end, right? You're enlightened. But if you want to accelerate your path, and I really feel like there's a reason people here are watching my channel. And so the guidance I'm getting is to get these pendants out. And, you know, you guys, a year ago, I did not even know how to make jewelry. And I'm not saying this like world-class jewelry making. What I am doing in my own ability and my own capabilities right now, right, making these handmade rocks from something that I can charge people by the hourly to give them advice on finance, to now making handmade rocks. So this is not world-class jewelry making skill, and I am learning, and I'm doing my best to stick it on a pendant for you so that you can have it on your body at all times. And I feel like right now there's an urgency, the next wave of light workers that are going to be awakened during this Christmas time. Because take a look, Christmas is when Jesus is born. This is a time where people are being reborn. Because this time last year, I actually got baptized twice, my second baptism at Second Baptist. Right? As I'm starting to piece this piece together, it's like, whoa, so much synchronicities there. And hitting the deer. Have you noticed there's a bunch of reindeers everywhere? Like recently this past month, like, okay, I'm seeing the deer everywhere, but it's just not a deer, it's a reindeer. So what does a reindeer do? It flies. And I feel like this can be an interpretation with Ascension. The deer helping us ascend to this fifth dimension. So I know this is like deeper spiritual work, spiritual terms that those who are watching right now may not have any clue what the fifth dimension is and what Ascension is. But eventually, as you start working with your Moldavite, as you start clearing your energy, and as you start hearing your call, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I just want to share with you, I release new pendants, world-class jewelry making skills, handmade, on my website at thelightgoddesses.com. And you will know that it's your stone even through the screen. And it's not so much about the pendant, right? It's the stone. And so as long as you have on your body, you can't lose it. You are attuned to this energy, and it's going to take you on a journey that you will never forget. So if you need a break from the stone, great. I encourage you as much as you can, have it on your body, have your body attuned, and become aligned with your purpose. Because if you felt the call, you're probably here watching my channel. So check out my website for the new pendants that I released. That is all I have for you guys today, and I hope you're ready to embark on your journey of being awakened. That's all I have for you guys. Temi Do, signing off.
Audio Jungle.